Hello, hello. So let's quickly talk about some of the beginner roles that provide the easiest entryway into remote high ticket sales or just remote sales in general. I'm going to talk quickly about three positions. So if you're looking to get your first role, these are the positions you're probably going to want to go after. Jumping right into it, we've got the appointment setter. Now, the typical two roles that people are looking at when they're looking at high ticket sales in particular, but remote sales as a whole, is you're looking at appointment setters and you're looking at closers. A lot of people ask me, can I just walk into a closing position? You know, I really like the style of that role. I like the earning potential of that role. I would love to just be a closer. Do I have to be a setter first? The answer is no, you definitely don't have to be an appointment setter first, although it is much, much easier to land an appointment setting role simply because the weight of the performance that you have to have when you're on those calls. As a closer, you're responsible for actually collecting cash, closing up the deal. As an appointment setter, you're responsible for setting the appointments. And this only goes up the better the offer that you're on. Some of the top offers that you guys would be looking for, I'm talking about good marketing systems, usually running paid advertising, and they're just filling the calendar with, 6 to 8 new booked calls every single day, 5 to 10K offer. And what they're looking for is someone that's going to close 20, 30, 40% or more of those deals. So if you're brand new to the space, not that you couldn't be good at that right away, it's more about the believability from the business owner or the recruiter or whoever it is, sales manager that's going to be hiring you for that position. Do they look at your resume? Do they have a conversation with you? And do they have a high degree of believability that you're going to be that person to be able to walk in and start crushing out deals on that calendar? The chances are a lot slimmer. Not that it's impossible, but again, the chances are a lot slimmer. And that's why it's a lot harder to get that role, because if you think and you just look at the math for these companies, what they're spending to fill the calendar is an exorbitant amount of money. Most of the cases, from what I've seen with some of the biggest companies that I've worked with and been a part of, it can be anywhere from $200 to $800 per call. And sometimes that number, the scale might be like $200 per booked call, but then you have 60 to 70% of those calls actually show up. And then hopefully, if the marketing is great, all of the ones that show up are qualified. But sometimes you do get the case where another 10% of those aren't qualified. So you're speaking to qualified prospects, maybe 60% of the time, maybe 50% of the time. Again, if it's a great offer, that number is even more. Almost all of the people you speak to would be qualified if it's a great offer. But at the end of the day, that all of those factors, all of those things that are in the call booking process make it so that it is very expensive. I'm talking $5,000, sometimes $10,000 per week or more to fill one closer's calendar. So if you look at it from the business owner's perspective, if I'm going to drop 10K to fill this closer's calendar and they have zero experience and nothing to prove to me that they can sell, and they're asking me to just give them a shot, are they willing to take that risk? Some businesses, yes, if they've got good systems, good training, all that stuff. Some businesses, no. So it is a lot harder to land that role. And that's why I say for beginners, the appointment setter role is an easier ask to get into, because again, you can really sell your communication skills being enough to dial appointments, book them for those closers, because that's what the role is for appointment setter. Essentially, you have a little bit of outbound in terms of cold outbound, but majority of great setter roles are the business is booking tons and tons of leads. Cost per lead is a lot lower than cost per call. So instead of risking, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars every single day on your calendar, they might be risking, $5, $10, $20 per lead. Depending on how good and optimized their system is, based on you having those conversations as the lead comes in, you pick up the phone, you dial them, you have a 10, 15 minute conversation, which overall can take a little bit less skill than it takes to go through the entirety of a 45 minute, maybe an hour long closer call and book them into a session with a closer. So appointment setter, definitely go for that role if you're struggling to land your first one. The next one I want to talk about is pretty much like an appointment setter role. It's even easier to land. I mean, it's not like appointment setter role. It is an appointment setter role, but usually done in a slightly different way. And this would be the DM setting role, which is typically where you have business owners that are more focused on their content. So this role is very, very, very popular for businesses that thrive on Instagram. So think like fitness influencers, just coaches and consultants that run Instagram ads, and the ads, the call to action on them prompt people to shoot them a DM. And by nature of that, they have tons of people in their inbox DMing them all day, every day. So they hire an appointment setter to kind of fill that space. And that would be a pretty good role to land, because all you're doing is texting all day. And the skill set side of it is it's a lot easier to get away with different kind of scripting and stuff like that. It doesn't take as much skill when it comes to tonality and energy and all of these other things that would be required to be on the phone with someone. You're just shooting them DMs. So business owners are usually willing to take on someone with less experience in that role. And lastly, a good role would be the SDR role. Kind of a slightly different industry if we're talking about like the info product type high ticket sales stuff. This is more on the corporate side of remote sales. It is their version of the appointment setter, but the role does differ in some areas, whereas appointment setters on a really good offer would mostly be dealing with a high influx of inbound leads, maybe 20 to 30 new inbound leads on a daily basis, whereas an SDR is a lot heavier focused on the outbound side of things, and they don't usually stick to one channel. So whereas appointment setter and DM setter, you kind of have that distinction of phone versus typing. But with the SDR, you're kind of a do it all to get prospects in. Now, with the benefit and caveat being that they usually are salaried, 50 to 70K base plus commission on top of that. So you do get compensated decently well for that extra legwork and grind, but it is a little bit, I mean, they're all a grind, but at the end of the day, it's the SDR role. You're kind of spreading yourself across multiple channels. You might be doing cold email, cold DMs, LinkedIn, Instagram, wherever. You're doing cold calls. You're taking a little bit of inbound depending on the structure of that specific company. But again, because the risk is low with these types of offers, because really they're paying your salary, but other than that, everything else is cold outbound for the most part. The risk is a lot lower than if they were filling your calendar like a closer or an account executive type position, which is the corporate equivalent of a closer, again, with some different caveats and differences in the position itself. So if you're looking for that first remote sales role and you might be struggling to showcase that you are a great communicator in terms of you feel confident in your sales skill set to just walk into a closer role and start closing deals, or you've been applying and trying, you've been struggling, your best in just to get some metrics on the track record, because I've seen people, they grab an appointment setter role, they do it for 6 months, do it for a year, and then they can transition into a closer because they have examples of them being in the industry and dealing with prospects. So again, your easiest way in would be that appointment setter, that DM setter role, or that SDR role. That being said, when it comes to the interview process, if you are struggling to land a role, we help with all of that. With Rep Select, we not only point you to all of the best jobs in the industry, we connect you with recruiters that can place you on roles if you do have a good kind of track record. And if not, we help you with the interview process in terms of interview skills. How do you show up to interviews? How do you land interviews and book them? How do you reach out to business owners in a way that actually gets them to respond and want to interview you? And how do you kind of tweak your resume and intro video so that it's attractive for these recruiters and business owners? We kind of help with the process of, either you're an experienced rep looking for your next role, or you're a brand new rep looking for your first role. We help with all of it with our free call that we do every single Monday. We've got our software platform, all of that stuff, the community, it's all linked below. Go ahead and check it out, and I'll see you guys in the next video.